Welcome to the ID10T podcast number 951. We have some corkboard information. Jerry, can I make that sound more sterile?
We have corkboard information just coming in right now on the ticker. Katie Levine, what say you regarding the corkboard, which is corkboard at id10t.com.
Yeah. Michael Warbington writes, I wanted to let you know about Camp Quest Northwest, a week-long science and nature camp that we host at Camp Kirby in Skagit County, Washington for campers aged 8 to 17. Our theme this year is Flying Spaghetti Western. It sounds like a lot of fun. They also have, so they do a lot of cool science stuff, but they also have kayaking, rock climbing, archery, normal camp activities. They're still accepting camp registration for June session, and you can visit campquestnorthwest.org for more info. And then Helen and Paul write, we love the show, and you are our regular listening companion while on tour. We have a band called Big Little Lions. If people want to check it out, they can go to biglittlelions.com/music.
Didn't Alexander Skarsgård win an Emmy for Big Little Lions?
Yes.
Or was I thinking something different? That's not the same?
No, little
Totally
different.
Different. I want to plug a couple things for people because Liddy and I went to Monsterpalooza this past weekend, which is fucking incredible. It's basically a special effects makeup. Well, it's a special effects and crafter and makeup convention. Mm-hmm. And so it's, any kind of special effects, anything is at Monsterpalooza. And it's fucking incredible. Lydia, we always come home with something fun from Monsterpalooza. So here's what I'm going to do. I grabbed a bunch of cards. We bought some stuff. People handed me stuff while I was at Monsterpalooza. So I'm just going to read through a bunch of these just to plug people's stuff. Because these are artists and creators and crafters. And they rely on word of mouth to, obviously some of them work on movies, but other folks just sell directly to consumers. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw some stuff out. So first of all, I ran into a guy, Daniel Lee, who gave me a thing, who won the Nerdist Sci-Fi contest, which is really funny, for his book After Death. It's a novel, and you can go to inkshares.com/book/after-death. So get that. Then also, what other cards do I have here? Turkey Merc, turkeymerc.com, MERCK. Really cool, zombie and skull, handcrafted, sculpted mugs. We got some of those. Midnight Studios FX, which is great. I think we got a sort of a Hatbox style ghost from the Haunted Mansion style thing. Lab Rats Inc. Studio artist Michelle Nairi there. Tanapatsi sculptures. We also have Miss Havisham's. Who makes these insult mugs? So they just these really beautiful mugs, these antique looking mugs, and inside it says stuff like "kindly fuck off" or "we hate your baby" or "stop talking" that. Or those are really fun. And then this last one I have here says "Forgotten Times," specializing in museum quality ancestor skulls, trophy skulls, arts, and oddities. And you can, I guess, find them on Facebook and contact them for custom creations, Ari and Russ. So thanks to Monsterpalooza for being fantastic this year. Liddy and I went with our friend Kaylin and Will and Ann Wheaton, and we had our friend Lee Shamel, who made my TARDIS downstairs, who's a crafter and builder, and really fucking great time. I love that crafter community. Is so great. They're just so communal and talented. This episode is Trevor Moore, who was in Whitest Kids U Know. Yep. And he has a new Comedy Central special called The Story of Our Times, which is on April 20th. How's that go?
420.
Yeah, boy, you sure know it. And then from midnight on Thursday to right before the special on Friday at midnight, Trevor's going to host a 24-hour Trevathon on the Comedy Central Facebook page. So, Trevor's a guy that I've been acquaintance with for a long time, and we never actually sat down and talked. And I'm constantly delighted about how this podcast gets me into conversations that I should have just had being a human in the world.
It is hard, though.
But
We're all
Trevor
busy.
is so fascinating because super funny guy was part of a great sketch group, but grew up basically touring churches with his parents, who were this Christian music duo. And then also we got into a lot of OCD talk, which was fantastic. And I think probably applicable to a percentage of folks that listen to this podcast. But really great chat. So please watch Trevor's stuff. Support him. And this podcast brought to you by Burrow. So Burrow, think of it this way. Most of our modern luxury items come in boxes. Mattresses, clothes, eyeglasses. Now, Luxury couches come in boxes too. No more heavy lifting or dinging your walls while moving in. Burrow brings style and comfort to a whole new level and ships your door fast and free. The couch experience has been reinvented. Now, this is the same quality that you might expect from high-end retailers, but because it's not a brick-and-mortar thing, you're not going to have the bank broken. All Burrow furniture is shipped fast. Shipping is free. Very easy to set up, as is moving it again. Burrow is adaptable. If your space changes, their modular design allows it to move and grow with you. Stain-resistant fabric that can take pet claws. There's built-in USB chargers. Burrow has the durability and functionality to keep up with your life. 30 days of cozy on your Burrow, risk-free. Try out Burrow at one of their showrooms today. Go customize your own Burrow. Get $75 off your order by going to burrow.com/ID10T. That's BURROW.com/ID10T for $75 off your purchase. Burrow makes the luxury couch for real life. Also, this episode brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. I keep talking about this new boss, Katie.
What kind of boss is it?
This is a Bacon Boss, Katie. I'm
Bacon
glad
Boss.
you asked. Buffalo Wild Wings has the Bacon Boss burger featuring bacon 3 different ways and a blanket of what?
White cheese sauce.
Thank you for paying attention. He's joined by the other new favorite classics this Bacon Boss, like smothered cheesesteak quesadilla, sweet chili shrimp, Alaska cod classic, all perfectly pair with one of the new Izzy sparkling juices or Aquafina waters. Hurry in today. Try them before they are gone at Buffalo Wild Wings, available for a limited time while supplies last. This is the ID10T podcast number 951 with Trevor Moore. Katie, roll the thing.
Initiating ID10T protocol.
We did that with our, we renovated half the house, and then we lived in the other half.
Oh, yeah.
And something that I didn't realize, so they had turned off the water for half the house for, months. And then when they turned the water on, I just made a glass of water and drank it. And immediately, I was like thirsty. I just threw the whole thing down, and I immediately like didn't even taste it. Just swallowed most of the glass, and then I immediately looked at my wife and I was like, "That tasted like eggs."
No!
And I got the sickest I've ever been in. I had to go to urgent care. Like I was like sweating. It was like having a heat stroke.
What got crossed?
No, it was just it had been standing water. It had been water that had been sitting in the pipe for months, and I just yeah.
And so now, are you extra careful when you look at a water?
Well, as soon as anyone says renovation, I go because that's my first thought.
It's funny because on paper it makes sense. Oh, okay. Well, if they work in this half, we'll just live over here.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's sort of like having the loudest roommates you've ever had all the time. Just giving you food poisoning in the water and clogging up the toilets with big old poops. That's the other part. But it is, and you don't want to complain because you're like, well, I mean, I do have a house. Like, it's a luxury problem.
Right.
But I feel like I'm on the real world.
Right.
Like, if the real world moved to a construction site and there's just always people around.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like. I'm eyeing your Silverlake shirt right now. I have the same exact shirt.
Oh, really?
Trevor's wearing this amazing shirt that if you live on the east side of Hollywood, you will recognize. There's a shirt shop in the Los Feliz area that sells them. But there's a podiatrist, like a foot doctor place, right near Silverlake Boulevard on East Sunset, and it's got the craziest cartoon of a super bummed out foot. And then a super so it's like it's an anthropomorphic foot that has its own feet and hands.
There's a whole kind of culture around it of people who are very superstitious about it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia thing about this. It's the happy foot, sad foot sign. And there's been people who will the urban legend goes, if you're driving by, if you have the happy foot facing you,
I didn't know about this.
yeah, then you think it's gonna be a good day.
That's gonna get in my head.
If you have the bad foot, it's a bad day. And there's people who will go around the block and drive again because they want to see. The Eels wrote a song about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Beck is one of the guys who's really into the superstition about.
I mean, that should really be a historical landmark at this point.
I mean, it's the Hollywood sign to me.
It really is. It's a Hollywood sign at Silverlake. But the thing about it is, if I were going to go to a podiatrist and I had that problem, I would probably have him get rid of the face that's on the bottom of my foot and take off the appendages and pull out the little eyes under the toes. It's so weird.
Yeah, but it works.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, if I ever had a foot problem, I think that would be the first place I would go.
Is it still? Do you know if it's still open or if do they just leave it on the sign?
No, it's still there. A friend of mine, well, at least it was a couple of years ago. A friend of mine said he went. A couple of years ago to this thing. I think it's still a foot doctor.
And is that in the same complex that has that super hip noodle joint there too? There's
the vegan kind of. Yeah, that place.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's all that's sort of overtaken. It's crept into Echo Park and then it's Silverlake and that whole area. That's great. I love that shirt and I own it. I own it as well. In fact, I almost kind of feel like at the end of this podcast, I'll go up and I'll put mine on.
We'll be twins.
And we can take a picture.
Oh, great.
But I think if they were really thinking clearly, what they should have done is put the hurt foot on the front of the shirt and then the happy foot on the back of the shirt to really.
But then that's negative. If you buy into the superstition.
That's true.
When you're walking around, you're going to freak people out. They'll be like, now I have to go around back behind you. I got to see.
You would do that, and then some super old Silverlake gypsy would be like, no! And you'd have to be decursed somehow. How long have you lived in L.A.?
I moved in 2009.
Oh, you've been here for a while.
Yeah, so I've been here 9 years. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 2000 when you say 2009. Oh, that's just a couple. Oh, that's almost a decade.
I know. Yeah. No, I've been here as long as I was in New York now.
Oh, wow.
So this is, I guess now I live here.
And when did Whitest Kids wrap?
We stopped the show in 2011. So I did the last 2 seasons. I lived out here.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
That's kind of melting my mind for a second. That's one of those the years are just months.
Yeah.
There's no.
We had this deal on Whitest Kids that after 5 years, we would get the rights to everything. So they only leased the rights of the show to us for themselves, and then we get them in 5 years, and it felt like nothing. It was like a year. It felt like a year, and then all of a sudden we had the rights to everything, and we're like, oh wow, it's been 5 years.
Then what do you do at that point? Do you go where do we do this?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we thought we were like and then we'll own it and we'll sell it places, but then we're just a bunch of guys. We don't know how to do that, and so we have these rights. And
you have a network? I don't have a network. I thought you had a network.
Yeah, that's right. We're not content salespeople.
Yeah. Well, that can also be the tricky part too. People go, we'll just do it online. Someone has to pay for that. It's not at a certain point. It's fun when you start out to do it guerrilla style. Oh, we'll just shoot it at this. I know this guy works at a bar. We can use it during the day. But at a certain point, when you become a real professional organization, you need money to fund that.
Right. Yeah, and you basically have a staff.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. The only thing it's helpful is so I'm doing this 24-hour live.
The Trevathon?
Yeah, I'm doing a telethon, 24-hour talk show kind of thing. And I was like, I'm going to need time to sleep or something, or just have a break for 24 hours. So it's we shot this movie that I could show. The Civil War movie that we did in Whitest Kids like that. And then they were like, well, what about the rights to it? And I was like, no, I got them. That. So that's the only thing it really helps out with.
It's going to help you sleep for 2 hours.
Yeah.
To show the Civil War on drugs during Trevathon. That's a great idea, because your special's for Comedy Central.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they're doing promotional stuff to promote it.
Yeah.
Although you do seem to be doing a lot of the work there by having to be up for 24 hours.
Well, that was my fault, actually. Because they were like, well, how would you want to promote it? And I was like, well, I could do a show for 24 hours. And then they immediately were like, oh, that's great. And then I was like, why? I could have said 12. 12. It's just the first thing that popped out.
You could have said 1. done.
Yeah.
And they probably would have been like, great. I mean, what are you planning to do during this 24 hours? Is it a lot of improvising and fucking with audience, or do you have like a full 24-hour plan?
Well, I don't think there's any way to have a 24-hour plan. So I think what we're going to do, the goal is we're going to try to solve all of the world's problems. So we'll take 1 hour, and it's going to be, the first hour I think is the Middle East. And so we're going to figure out, we're going to fix the Middle East problem.
Right off the top.
Yeah. When we're awake, when we've got like all of our energy. And then the second one is we're going to try to fix the Star Wars franchise. Great. And so it's some are serious, some are not, but then we'll basically devote an hour to we'll take calls, we're having an 800 number. We'll have people call in, and we're also going to have an open mic night.
Oh, great.
So
fantastic.
People off the street can come in and do open mic and stuff, and we're going to try to get different celebrities to Skype in and stuff like that. And,
there was a British show. Oh boy, this was like 20 years ago, because I did the American version of the pilot, and of course it didn't go. But it was called The People Versus. And I can't remember the guy's name, the host's name in England, but essentially it felt very much like a public access show.
Yeah.
He was sitting at a desk, and then just kind of like what you said, just random people would just come in. Like there was no consistency to who these people were. The people off the street, just business people, whatever. They would come in and they would just start ranting or talking about whatever they wanted to talk about, and he would engage them. But then the second he lost interest, he would hit a bell and they would have to get up and leave.
Oh, that's great.
And then the next person would come in.
That's great.
Which is, to me, like a very British-minded show. It's like, there's no reason. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
But in America, they were like, well, what are the segments? Like, no, there's no segments.
Yeah.
But this feels like a format where you could just have people line up and fuck with them until you're done, and then they leave.
Yeah, the whole idea is we just want to see what happens. We're going to make a potato gun. We're going to, I just got off of a 2-hour long call with legal, about what we can and cannot do, like that, and it was fun because we're going through, and it was I wanted to do how they all these talk shows do a cooking segment.
Yeah,
it's like a staple. Like Conan cooks with somebody. So I wanted to do that, but under a segment where we're talking about spaying and neutering your dogs, and I wanted to get a vet to come in and neuter a dog on the air.
Jesus Christ!
But just be there with him the whole time and be like, now what are you doing right now? Can I And that was the whole thing. They were like, I don't know if we can do this. So
I like a surgery segment.
Yeah,
in place of the cooking segment. That's a really great idea. Also, you should spay or neuter your pets.
Yeah.
Right, Katie?
Yes.
it's a positive thing.
That is a great positive message. Maybe you could, maybe there's a thing where you could actually just go on Tinder and see who you can get to come in.
We're doing that.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Fantastic!
But we're trying to set up people calling in, and then we'll set them up on a date, and we're going to have a table and a dinner right there in the studio.
Yeah.
We'll have them come in, and we'll just observe their date and kind of do commentary and see how it goes. And then we'll have a fantasy suite. We'll have a mattress on the floor. Or
Fantastic. The worst thing that could happen to you is that this is wildly successful, and they're like, okay, every Saturday you get a 24-hour block.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna fucking ruin your life. I didn't know this about you, but I read that your parents were like a successful Christian duo, like a Christian music duo.
No, I grew up on a tour bus, until I was 8. We lived on they were Christian rock singers in the 80s.
That's all of those elements together
Yeah.
are magical. Christian rock in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah. And they had the number 2 hit in the country, and we just toured around and played mega churches and stuff like that. And yeah, that was, and I never thought it was weird until I kind of started getting into high school and be like, well, I used to, my parents are Christian rock singers. I used to live on a bus, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know how you go around to mega churches? And,
Yeah.
No, I
And you
don't know. Were you in the band?
I was at the beginning. I sang with them. I quit when I was 6.
Yeah.
Actually, I threw a fit on stage. I had a kind of a tantrum.
Oh.
I was I don't want to sing anymore.
Did they exercise?
No,
the
but
demon from you?
they spanked me on stage, and it got a standing ovation. Yeah, it got huge applause. Yeah. I vividly remember that.
Boy, that's the other thing where you're like, well, now we got to do this every week. This killed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that was our closer from then on out. Yeah.
Where you start to have the tantrum throughout the set, and at the end, they spank you.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what does that do to a I really need to try to understand what that does to a child's psyche.
Yeah, me too. I have no idea.
Capital punishment in front of thousands of people
cheering
in a religious setting. What does that do? Like, what is Tiny Trevor Moore thinking at that point?
I just I have no idea. Like, I remember it happening. Like, but I don't I don't know what the immediate damage was.
Oh boy, if the internet has footage of that somewhere, that I'm sure they don't. But if they did,
Not that performance, but there are. My parents are on there. Like, yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. I feel like there's no way that didn't contribute to you becoming a comic. Like, there's no way that wasn't a part of the recipe.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also, well, even just in the sense of, until I was 8, like, I lived on a bus, and then every night you would kind of be at a different, venue. Mm-hmm. And so you meet different kids.
Yeah.
And like, so your friends are really like one night friends.
Right.
Like that. So you had to try to be funny as fast as possible to make friends, really,
right.
like that. So I think that had to be a contributing factor like that, because I remember being like, all right, well, you got to be as funny as possible, and that's how you weren't lonely all the time.
I'm sort of jealous of having like an insulated audience like that, because immediately, if you're Christian and you're performing for thousands of Christians, you already have this lexicon, basically. You already have this shared understanding.
Right. It'd be bad form to boo.
Because ultimately, that would mean you were against the Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like the Lord?
Yeah.
Fine, I thought we were all here for a reason.
Exactly.
Because he's really always the headliner, right? Like,
yes.
Ultimately,
ultimately,
Jesus is headlining all of these gigs, and you guys are just opening. Unfortunately, he never shows up. He's late. He's on his own schedule. But it seems to me that when you, because that sort of happens when you first start doing comedy, where you get used to performing for your insulated group, and then you go outside where people don't know you,
right?
And you're like, oh, right, I have to learn how to earn the trust.
Yeah, totally.
And when did you start doing stand up around then, or was it more sketch?
No, when I was like 16. Like, I started a public access show.
Yes, which was very successful.
Yeah, because it was in Charlottesville, Virginia, famous Charlottesville, Virginia.
The world famous
for bad reasons now, but it was so it was a college town, and so like it became popular with that, and then it actually got bought. By remember PAX Television?
Of course, yeah.
So a guy who owned a bunch of affiliates of that bought the show, and so I took a year off before college, and I got to like hire all my friends, and we did like a sketch show,
right?
And then it got like canceled because it was like a very Christian network, and it wasn't a Christian show, and so they were always getting complaints, and I thought it was going to be fine because they were like, it was airing at like 10 o'clock, and I was like, there's a lot of Touched by an Angel, those kind of shows,
right.
Things like that, and then they just bought mine because it was popular in the community, so
right.
but I was like 10 o'clock will be fine, but I didn't realize they were re-airing it like on Saturday mornings at like 9 a.m.
Right.
So and kids were seeing it, and then we're getting all sorts of
letters.
They
were seeing your jerked off by an angel sketch,
right?
And then you just can't, you can't show that too. Like but honestly though, like what were some of the premises of the sketches that were not acceptable, where they were like, oh, you can't do that?
I did a thing from an old folks home, like a morning show that was called "Hey Hey Who Died Today," and it was basically them like just checking all the rooms or stuff like that. I did like a sketch that was called like "What's in the Bag," and you just had a big bag and you would just beat it with like different, like a hockey stick or something like that, and we'd have different animal sounds coming from in it, and like you had to guess what kind of, and it was a lot of just calling. Like kind of prank calls and calling people and stuff like that. I filmed a bunch of roadkill.
Oh, fantastic!
I called the Virginia Department of Transportation and had them like let me know whenever there was a big roadkill, and I'd go and I'd film it. And then I gave each of the dead roadkill voices, like silly voices, and then I just did Hamlet, like. And
this is mind-blowing to me that you did this on PAX.
Yeah. It got cut off pretty quick.
Yes, but that's still genius that you even did it, that you even got to do it for a second.
Yeah,
is fantastic.
We lasted 17 episodes. The 17th one they wouldn't air. We lasted 16 episodes, and then we'd finished the 17th episode, and they're like, no, you're done. Like,
so somewhere out there is the series finale of your PAX show that you never got to do.
Sort of, except we didn't know it was the series finale. It was.
Did you ever think about pitching a show but to like Comedy Central, someone where the premise was you were doing a sketch show on a Christian network, and that you had that, like, those were the sort of weird regulations that you had.
But that's a great
That's
idea.
a fucking great. I mean,
that's what I was doing.
You lived it.
Yeah.
You absolutely lived it.
Yeah.
So then where did the Whitest Kids You Know come from?
So then when I got canceled there, I went to New York to go to college. And I just like really wanted. It was like going to New York with the intention of like I want to get a comedy group together, and I started doing stand up at like the UCB, like the first one in New York.
Yep.
Like
19th, like right near McManus Bar.
Yeah. Started doing like stand up there every now and then. I met Sam Brown from the Whitest Kids, and we lived in the same dorm. And so we just kind of put out flyers. We talked to the school. We went to the School of Visual Arts, and we talked to them. And if we did a club, like if it was like a club, like it's a comedy club or whatever like that, we would get like $700 a semester. Like, and so we're like, that's great. We'll buy beer and cigarettes and stuff with that money. And so, but because of that, we couldn't be like, you get in and you don't. Like, everyone had to be in.
Right.
So we started this, we called it Whitest Kids You Know, and we put like flyers everywhere. And it was literally like, do you want to be in a comedy troupe? Like, come on down. Like,
if someone started that at a college now,
I know.
I'd be like,
what's going on?
what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's appropriate for, I'm not sure. That's okay.
Yeah, that's
Much different. It was a much different time.
Yeah, that name hasn't aged well.
Didn't really stand the test. It's just good that you solidified the brand
Before.
like so that it's all so people don't think of it as the literal interpretation. But that's how we started. So we had like 17 members of the troupe, and we did shows every month. It's
at
like
the
the
school.
state.
Yeah. And that's how it was until I graduated from college, and then we like cut it down to like 5 members.
Oh, got it. And so were you doing just like regular live performances at school, or was it just writing sessions?
No, it was like we did a show every month at school. It would be like a 3-hour show because there were 17 members and everybody wanted to get their stuff.
Yep.
And then we would do like New York Comedy Club. That's always was a great place to like. We have no credits. Like they're like, all right, so we would play. So we'd play some clubs around, and then and we started getting like a good following. Like a lot of people were like coming to the school for these shows.
Yep.
And then we got the show at there's a bar called Pianos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and David Cross was leaving. He used to do a really popular show there called Tinkle.
Yep.
And then I think he came out here to L.A., and so they needed someone to fill that spot, and we got the spot. And then we just started. Then we started doing a show every week. And we tried to do a new show every week. So no material that we'd done prior. Like, so we would write Friday night, rehearse Saturday, and then do the show on Sunday. Oh, man. And we did that for like 3 years. And that's how we like kind of built like a following kind of going.
That was a really good time for comedy too, because that was on Ludlow, right?
Yeah.
And so right across the street was Luna Lounge, had a really great like Monday night show or Monday night show maybe. And then, so the back and forth between Luna and Pianos, like that was such a great little block for comedy.
Yeah, and then we would do our show, and then we'd head up to Rafifi, and we would like hang out there all night. Like,
that's gone too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an American Outfitters now.
Oh, great!
Yeah. And everything else that we talked about is an NYU dorm.
Oh, fuck! Really?
No, but
it seems like
there,
that.
But,
yeah, Rafifi, isn't that where Eugene did invite them up? Yep, I remember that. I think I did that there.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Yeah, that was a great venue. Like,
and now everything's just some kind of a franchise business.
Well, it's funny, like, as I was watching, like, over the past, like, 2 weeks, everybody talking about Meltdown.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Like, it really brought that back to me of, like, because I remember, like, it was out of nowhere. They were like, well, Rafifi's, shutting down. Like that. And then they did a big last show, and it was this whole big kind of...
Yeah, the Meltdown thing is so surreal, but they've been, for the last handful of years, they've been... We always kind of thought, oh, maybe next year's the last year, because I guess whoever owns that block... They've been trying to turn it into my understanding. I don't know if this is
allegedly.
My understanding is that they want to do that thing where they turn it into like glass box condos with like the Chipotle's down below or the Five Guys down. Like they really want to, because it is probably one of the most expensive blocks in the country. That
Well, it'd be nice to get some
Boulevard.
Chipotles in LA. That's
Yeah, exactly. There's
good.
one a couple blocks away from there, but it'd be nice if it was like right there.
Yeah.
So you could just go back and forth the Guitar Center. And so I guess, I don't know. I think it finally, I don't know if they're doing that or not, but finally I think Gaston was just like, 25 years of, when you're selling comic books in a massive warehouse style building on that expensive street in a business where people maybe aren't necessarily going to buy physical comics anymore. But with Rafifi or with pianos or anything or with Meltdown, the bummer part is just sort of like, our clubhouse, our community. It's just like watching the community dissipate.
Yeah, or like where does what springs up now?
Yeah, well,
kind of thing.
Fortunately though, Jamie Flam just opened Dynasty Typewriter, which seems like a great venue. I haven't been able to get over there yet because of my work schedule, but I see like he's putting on really great shows over there. So like something always pops up somewhere.
Yeah,
and then the community just kind of morphs and it gets new people and sheds people those. Finding your little comedy clubhouse is one of the most inspirational and gratifying, like, oh my God, this is a thing. And I always tell people, like, enjoy it because these don't always last. Like, the strongest ones still eventually people get too busy or businesses sell or whatever.
Yeah, and you always see people, like, talk about theirs, like, with, like, such, like, importance and stuff like that. Like you see, the Comedy Store in the 80s and like Chicago, Second City and all that stuff like that. And you're like, okay, it's not really interesting to me like that. And then like when you find one, you're like, I can't believe this is going away.
This has never happened before.
yeah.
Well, maybe it's happening.
Maybe it happens all the time.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to see a handful of them and so that's why I'm not always as distraught when one ends because I know that because just the need to commune, like comedy needs a community,
right?
And it always pops up somewhere, and there's always someone being innovative and new and fresh. And so, do you perform a lot locally?
I don't that much anymore. Like I kind of if I have a bit I want to do, I'll like go up and do it. But I don't have a regular place I perform. I do. I go do like weekends at like comedy clubs around the country and stuff, but I haven't done that much locally. So I'd like to do more.
I know I'm the same way because I just you go do a weekend somewhere like, oh, okay, I did 5 shows, and then you come home, you're like, boy, do I feel like driving across town and parking to do 12 minutes?
Yeah.
For other comics, and then get back in my car and drive. You just start kind of get the older person syndrome where you're like, boy, bed feels good, and I got to catch up on some Netflix shit. So I don't know if I
totally
feel like.
Yeah, it's like I've been show running a Disney show for the last 3 years, like that. So there's also like I just kind of use that as an excuse of like I'm like
I can't believe I didn't know that. What show? What are you show running?
It's called Walk the Prank. It's a show on Disney XD, but I've been like running that for like the last 3 years. So
did you sneak the Hey Who Died Today sketch into there?
No,
okay,
no.
all right. Well, you got a treasure trove.
Yeah,
you got a treasure trove. You could neuter a dog.
Yeah. Well, I hope no one at Disney watches the 24-hour show. Yeah, that's or I won't be show running a show.
So how has it been for you transitioning into that role? Because the showrunner is really sort of the puppet master of like, you got to deal with the network, you got to deal with the talent, you got to deal with the stories, you got to deal with the schedules. You have to. I mean, it always sounds neat, but then it is a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I like the executives there. Like and I kind of like constraints of like okay, how do we make this funny with all the constraints that we have? Like I always kind of enjoy that sort of thing. So and I love just being on S&P calls. Like I love people being like, you can't do that, and we're like, well, what about this? What if what if he says barfs on your butt, not in your butt? Like,
can I say rectum instead of anus?
Exactly.
No, you can't say either. Can't say either. Were your parents, when they saw the comedy you were making, were they like, oh, this isn't very Christian, or were they pretty cool about that stuff?
No, well, yes and no. Like my parents are super supportive. Like they like when I would do my public access show, if I needed a camera person, they'd, hold the camera and stuff like that. And, they've always been very supportive. They don't like the kind of material that I do, though. Like when Whitest Kids first started kind of picking up steam and like video, when YouTube came out, then that really, because we were just hosting all of our videos on our website.
Right.
And then so people started throwing them up on YouTube, and we started getting like some viral things and stuff like that. And my dad would go and flag them on YouTube, and then he'd call me and he'd be like, "I saw this video that you did, and I just thought it was really inappropriate, so I had got in touch with YouTube, try to get him to take it down."
Your father was issuing takedowns?
Yeah, and then he'd be like, "Oh, by the way, that tree fell down back in the back." He just switched topics back to regular stuff. Like
that's insane. That's crazy. Yeah, that's right. Because YouTube was 2005.
Yeah,
and it's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk to people who, because you think like. Well, I guess now it's been 13 years, but it's hard to imagine a time before YouTube. And this, I've had this conversation with the Rooster Teeth guys too, where they were like, yeah, we just used to host these stamp-size videos in like a QuickTime format, and you kind of had to handle the bandwidth and all that shit, and host it. So did you guys adopt YouTube immediately, or were you sort of forced onto it?
We've never had a YouTube channel. Like to this day, like we never had a YouTube channel. Like because we would just host them on our website. And we actually I did a Hitler rap one. That was like one of the first things we did that kind of like the internet found and really like ran with. And it got so many downloads that it like crashed the whole server. Like I think it was the same server that the History Channel was on. We found out, and the History Channel's website went down. But
they had a competing Hitler rap. It was the History Channel.
It was all Hitler based content.
Yeah.
But then they told us like, well, you owe us this amount of money. Because it was all our bandwidth, like kind of thing like that, and we're like, we're none of us have any money, like we can't, and they kind of forgave it, like kind of thing, but we were like, yeah, we didn't know it was gonna like be that big.
Oh my god!
So then when YouTube came, it happened right around that same time. We were like, oh, this is great, but we never did it. Like we just had people would take our videos and put it on YouTube. So like these ones that have like 10 million, 12 million hits or whatever like that. Like we never saw any money from that because we just our like idea was like, the fans want to spread it. That's awesome. Like let them make money off.
And that serves you because then people are finding your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't until like when like in the later years of us being on like IFC, like I think they started taking kids' channels down that had our stuff, and we tried to kind of be like, let them, and we kind of were able to stop them from taking some down, but still some they took down and stuff like that.
Yeah, we would have those fights with Comedy Central sometimes where someone took a chunk of one of the At Midnight episodes. I think it was the one with, I think it might have been the one with. The Bernie versus Trump with Adomian and Tony Atamanuik, and they put a clip of it on Facebook, and it got like 100 million views, like it blew up.
Yeah,
and Viacom was like, "Nope." We're like, "It's a commercial for our show.
Right.
What are you doing?" Like, well, we didn't make half a cent a view or whatever. Like, but it's. Come on, you know. I mean, it really does
because that's $200,000.
I get
100 million. I think that kind of translates to like 200,000 or something.
Yeah, I know, but the thing that's hard to explain to them, and I understand. I guess I understand they're running a business.
Right.
But the thing that's hard to explain is like, yes, but if you guys had put it up, that wouldn't have happened probably.
Right.
Like that happened because someone saw a clip that spoke to them, and that spoke to all their friends, and then they passed it around.
Yeah.
So can we just let this one slide?
Yeah.
Because there's no marketing budget for our show, so this was the marketing budget. Right here.
Yeah.
That all went away.
Yeah, no, we had that because like we were like, there was like YouTube videos we were really proud of that had like super high view counts. And then there was this purge that they did and they just took them all down. And we were like, well, now it's like, we've got, it doesn't look like we have nearly as many view counts as we did.
Yeah,
like,
and also it's you get the unfortunate fallout of like you guys are institutional now, like in terms of like, oh, that's not cool. Like the Whitest Kids took her. Like, no, that wasn't. We didn't. We here. We want you to have this.
Totally. Yeah.
So that was. But then the IFC show must have started in 2006, right? Around 2006. Okay.
Well, it started on Fuse, And then
it went over to IFC.
We went to IFC in the second season. Yeah.
Right. And then at that time, were you kind of realizing like, okay, now we're starting to have options, or we're like this thing that started as a college club that has had many iterations and people passed around, like this is a real thing now, it's a real brand, or do you guys not think in those terms?
We were just excited that it was all like, people were, I remember like before the show came out, we went on a 6-week tour with Flogging Molly, the band Flogging Molly. And so we're opening for them. And I don't know how much you know about Flogging Molly.
Sketch comedy opening for an Irish band. It's always the
great
best.
idea. Yeah. So like there's nobody who likes Flogging Molly. It's either their favorite band in the world. Like everyone at those concerts, they're like it's their favorite band in the world.
And then so these guys come out and start doing sketch comedy.
Yeah. Like so I'm coming out and like they're all doing the soccer chants like waiting for the band to come out, and then we come out and we don't have a show yet. No one knows who we are. So we're like, all right, now in this bit, I'm a girl. This is my husband, and then we're like doing like a,
and you're basically like pissing off soccer hooligans.
Yeah, and they would literally throw bottles of whiskey, like they were not bottles of whiskey, they'd throw beer bottles at us. And
you don't want
like
to waste good whiskey.
Yeah, and so then like it was like we did 2 shows like that. And then we were going to the next one, and I was just talking to Sam. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work at all. Like, I was like, we have to completely rewrite what we're doing. So then we just created these characters that were like Irish hooligan, like, hype men. And we'd come out and just drink whiskey on stage and like throw whiskey at the audience. And then they were like, they loved that.
That's fantastic.
And then on our way out, we'd be like, we have a show coming out on Fuse in like a couple of weeks. Please watch it. Like,
wait a minute, those were characters. Get them.
Get them.
Yeah, that's really funny though. And that's what's so. That's kind of what's great about having like the comedy toolkit at your disposal, is sort of looking at a situation and going, because it really is like a real comedian, like a really good comedy people are basically survivalists.
Right.
It's like, how can I survive in this environment when I have to completely throw out everything? Like, what about this environment can I use to make this work?
Yeah, it's playing to the room. It's like, all right, what are these people going to enjoy? Like,
And then how many shows did you do with that? Then
6 weeks. It was like
Jesus Christ.
Like we were on the road with them for a long time.
Yeah, people always think that it's going to be a good combination. We're like, oh, people love comedy, people love music. Let's just put these people, and forgetting that when people pay and they go to a music show, they generally are pretty focused on the thing that they paid for. And if you're not that thing, you're just delaying their gratification, and the drunker they get, the less appreciative they are to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I would have hated to see our group ahead of a band I wanted to see. But I mean, to go back to the question at the beginning was that like, that was the thing that we were excited about, like with the show and it becoming a brand kind of thing. Because like we did that tour, and then like the very next year we do the tour, and then people are coming to see you,
right?
Kind of thing. And so then that was like, oh, okay, this is fun, like and then we could we'd go a place and be like, I don't know if anyone will be in St. Louis that goes to see us, and then there'd be a crowd there, and so that was the thing that we were just more excited about that than thinking about the brand kind of thing.
Did you tour as a group for a while after the show, or once the show was done, were you guys like, let's take a break, or let's write movies, or let's do something?
No, we toured for a while, like, and then and I still go out because I go out with my like music stuff now, and but whenever I go out, I at least bring 2 of the Whitest Kids guys with me, and we'll throw in a couple of old sketches and stuff like that. So like we still kind of tour pretty frequently.
That's pretty cool to hear, because it with stand up it's difficult. Wow, this is making me see this. So I think stand up jokes are like magic tricks,
right?
And once people see what the punchline is, or they see how it works, unless it's like Jim Gaffigan's Hot Pockets bit, or like a really classic bit, they don't want. I already seen that.
Yeah,
I already know how that works. But what's interesting about sketch is that sketch is more like music.
Yes,
because it is like a 3 or 4 minute piece that has an arc and takes people on a little journey, and people really do like seeing sketches over and over again.
Yeah, no, that's we kind of realized that when we were doing it too, because I mean, we've always thought it's very much like music. I mean, just the fact that, it's a band, like, it's a group of people, like, and, they're all around 3.5 minutes, like, like it's, and then there's people have their favorites but we would find that, like, you go out and, it's fun to do new stuff. Like for us, but like the stuff that people really want to see is the stuff that they know. So we try to kind of sprinkle it in. And it's great with doing the music, like, it kind of, we can throw in a couple old sketches and it doesn't feel too jerky. Like it feels like they all kind of feel tonally in the same thing. Like,
so when your special comes out, which is in it's like the 16th or the 17th?
The 20th.
The 20th of
420.
April. Wait a minute. I'm sure you'll be competing with Doug Benson for a thing that day. But so once that happens, are you going to tour? Do you tour all new stuff, or do you do some stuff from the special? Or
well, I'll probably go out with a lot of songs from the special. This time, I've kind of added like the last a couple weeks ago, I went out and kind of did a lot of the songs from the new special for like the first time in front of a crowd, because like when I'm like writing them, I don't want to do them like months in advance from the special coming out, because then it's just like, I don't know, I get paranoid about like, ideas and stuff like, kind of thing. So
like people, like other people having parallel ideas and stuff.
Well, I mean, not like, maybe, but just being like, oh, I heard that he's doing this song about this bit or something like that.
Got it.
So I just started doing the songs from this new album, so it'll probably be heavily those, like for the next couple of months at least.
Got it. And then are the songs on a separate album, or is it all part of the same comedy album?
Yeah, no, it's the album's all songs, it's all music, and that comes out at the same time as the special. And the special is this. We did something different. Like the last special I did for Comedy Central, it was kind of a traditional, like me on a stage with an audience.
It was like 5 years ago?
It was like three? Yeah, I think it was 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was like 2013.
No, that was my first album.
That was the first album.
I did that, and then I did one in 2015. So yeah, like just 3 years ago. And that was all in front of like an audience, with band and everything. So this one, what I did was there's a linear story to it, and it's all scripted, but then it goes into music like in my head.
Oh, cool.
So it's a story about me and my like longtime girlfriend. She makes me go to brunch with all of her friends, and I hate all of her friends. And so it's me at brunch, and they're bringing up all these topics, and like and I'm kind of like in hell. And then it goes into my head of like what I'm thinking about all their topics. So it's kind of like a 1-hour story.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about reuniting with your parents on stage and getting spanked in front of people?
That would be next special. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to call into the 24-hour thing. Yeah,
I really hope they do.
I bet they do. Yeah.
Did you retain any? Are you a lapsed Christian, or did you retain any of that? Or
yeah, I mean, like I don't know what I am. I guess I'd be agnostic.
Sure.
Like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still like remnants of it that I definitely Like,
it's hard to shake some of that. It's hard to shake some of that. I always kind of wonder if where some of my mild OCD comes from the ritualistic nature of what Catholicism was, because I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic, all boys Catholic school, and those ideas of do this many times to purge this thing, and then you will be okay. If you do not observe this exact ritual, you will not be. Then you have to do that. I wonder if that's where a lot of that comes from.
Well, I don't know if it comes from there, but I definitely think like I have pretty severe OCD. Like like I'm on medicine for it and everything like that. Like and I definitely know that it's not. If you do have obsessive compulsive disorder, it doesn't help. To like be raised in that kind of way, because then when I grew up, they would say like, well, the idea that if you believe, it's all like, do you believe in your heart? But then that basically means that they can, like God or whoever can know your mind,
right?
And so then also a lot of religious stuff is like sometimes God will speak to you. Now, if you have OCD, like how do you differentiate, as a kid, kind of these things that are like, oh, you got to touch that. or like your parents are going to die.
Right.
You know, like how do you determine if it was God telling me to do that or like that kind of thing? So I definitely think like, you know, for some, you know, I definitely think having OCD is not a good thing to be mixed with being in a very religious like
right. And then, so just for other people who are listening who might have the same thing, what are some tool sets that you were able to develop to, because, you know, when you obsess on details that maybe aren't necessarily holistically important for the thing you're trying to accomplish, you know, especially with jokes or ideas or like notes or songs you can't get out of your head, like how are you, you know, besides medication, are there other things that you're doing in tandem with that to help get around that stuff?
I don't really, you know, like it depends. Like it'll take me a bit to get out of my house sometimes because there's just things that I still have to do to like get out. But then if but I try to just make shorthands for it. I almost try to make deals with it. Like, or like I can
really interesting.
I can combine all of this ritual if I do this much shorter ritual.
Right.
Like, you know, and this one covers up for that one.
It's like a proxy ritual.
Yeah, so I'm constantly like, you know, negotiating with myself about, you know, what are the rules right now for us.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting way to do it because you, rather than struggling with that, I must conquer you, saying like, okay, I recognize that you're there.
Yeah.
What about if we just did this?
Yes.
You okay with that?
Are we good with that?
Yeah. Is that good?
At least for a week? Is
Yeah.
that fine? Like, can you not kill my parents if I just, you know,
if I just touch this one thing,
touch this one time instead of touching that 20 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I remember for me when it was really bad, I would be like stuck at my apartment door. Like I've checked the door 10 times.
Right.
It's definitely locked. But I would walk away and feel like, but is it? Like I could not.
Yeah.
I could not be comfortable with. And then at a certain point, I would have to just be like if you see someone who's struggling with it, then they just go, you know, that's the, just fucking leave me alone. You know, it's fine, whatever. You know, it's just like, how do you not get to that point, or how do you, you know, how can you negotiate it down?
Well, and the other thing, the other tricky thing about it is like most people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, they know it's stupid. You know, like, you know that it's probably not going to do anything. But people, I think that it's more of a fear of like, all right, well, what if I didn't touch the doorknob or whatever like it is? And then randomly my parents died today anyway.
Right.
Like they were it has nothing to do, but then I'll touch the doorknob just so that I'm not like living with that for the rest of my life. Like, I should have touched the doorknob. Like, you know, that kind of thing. And
so then if that did happen, then you would be absolved.
It's not my fault. I touched the doorknob.
Hey guys.
Not on me.
I don't know what to tell you. I clearly did the thing in the right order. So I guess that's on you.
Not my fault.
No. I wonder if that... I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to find... I'm sure someone's done studies on this, but it'd be interesting to find out the number of people who are like lapsed Catholics or Christians who, in the absence of those, you know, very specific rule sets that they were given, develop this because, like, we as lapsies, I guess, we don't have that structure anymore, and so our brains just sort of formed needing that, like that's what they were raised on. Yeah. So maybe, you know, I would be interesting to find like people in the agnostic fringes. You know, I would be willing to bet that the amount of, you know, different shades of OCD is likely to be extraordinarily high. I don't know if that's true, but I'd be really interested to find out.
Well, it'd be terrifying if they did that study and they came back and they're like, yeah, it turns out that's actually God talking about it. And
you found that out in the study? Yeah. I don't know. No, I guess no one had asked the right question before.
Better touch your doorknobs.
That's really funny. I mean, if I didn't understand it so well, you know, and I think I was able to, you know, get a little bit better with it over time and relax a little bit. But I'm actually going to try. I'm going to try because Katie's heard this. A couple people have come on. Jonah Ray's been doing transcendental meditation. My friend Joe Manganello's been doing it, and they do it with the, you know, like the David Lynch Foundation. And so I was like, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to see if it quiets
Yeah.
quiets that chatter that's in the head all the time.
Yeah, people, I've never heard a bad thing about that. People love it.
Have you tried it?
No. Sounds kind of hippie.
No thanks.
Hard pass.
I don't need that. I love the turn of that. I've heard that works really good. Try it. Fucking no way. Are you kidding me?
No.
No.
I'm
Be
cool.
caught Dead. What? I wonder what that is, because it is definitely something that a lot of, certainly comedy people have it in common, and it does seem like comedy is a nice way to play with those voices or protect ourselves in some way, or express them or get them. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, like, it does seem like a lot of people in comedy have something wrong.
I would love for someone to really do like a detailed study of like what, it's like when people go, man, it's amazing that you do comedy. I don't think I could ever do that. And I always go like, I don't know if it was a choice, like it's just it's a compulsion.
Yeah, hopefully you'll never have to do it.
Hopefully nothing will happen to you where you need the armor to feel like you need to get up in front of strangers and be like, how about this? Huh? You like this?
Well, people ask me, like, would you ever let your, later on, would you ever let your kids, like, do comedy? And we're like, well, I mean, they can do it. They would be able to do whatever they want, but I would feel like I failed. Like, I screwed up something.
Oh, no. Well, I'm happy that you found a thing, but God damn it, I'm sorry.
What did I do?
What did I do? Well, I didn't touch the doorknob, did I?
Yeah.
Should have touched the doorknob.
I worked
more.
too much. I didn't pick you up enough. That's what it was.
Do you want me to pick you up now? Is it weird now? Do I carry you around? I know you're 20, but is it weird? Is it still weird? Do you have kids? You don't have kids.
I do. I have
you do
one.
have kids. You have one child.
I have one kid.
How old is your child?
He's 7 months old.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so he's so I could really mess him up right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where they're the most impressionable.
Prime, turn him into a comedian range right here.
Just take his hand and start touching the doorknob every time you leave. Like, this is what you got to do.
This is how Dad does not kill your grandparents,
and this is how you keep Daddy alive.
Yeah, so you have to pay it forward.
Yeah.
We're a whole family of door touchers.
The kid's just gonna have like all these knobs in his room. It's just like playing them like people play the glasses. It's just like that's his universe, is keeping everyone alive with the knob touching. I don't know what it is.
I do think if I ever have a heart attack and I am dying, but I have a little bit of like wherewithal,
sure, I
will call him and be like, I think I'm dying. Did you touch the doorknob? Because I think he'll think that's funny. That's a good thing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You screwed me on this.
What the fuck happened? You couldn't leave the house once in 2 days and touch a knob? I gave you everything. How hard is that? I don't know. Maybe he'll either inherit it or it'll be the complete opposite, and he'll just be the chillest kid ever.
My parents don't have it, so I don't think it's a hereditary thing.
Well, they still have the Lord, so maybe that satisfies that for them.
Maybe. Yeah.
Do they play together at all?
Oh yeah, they still do. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, they. Just kind of local stuff. They don't tour anymore.
What's the name of your parents? Do they have a group name?
There was Mickey and Becky Moore.
Mickey and Becky Moore.
That was their names. Yeah.
Did they ever appear on the Lawrence Welk show?
No, they didn't do Lawrence Welk. We did 700 Club. We were on a lot was remember Jim Baker?
Of course, yeah.
That whole thing. We were on those shows like a lot, and I would actually hang out at that. You ever see that whole amusement park they made?
I know, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, I used to hang out there. We had like lifetime memberships there.
Holy shit!
So I was there a lot. Yeah.
That's insane. Did you meet Jim and Tammy?
I never met them, or I don't think I did. But but I loved the water park they had. I don't know if it was just because I was a kid, but Jim and Tammy Faye make one of the best water parks I've ever been at.
I was thinking about this the other day, that idea of the crystal megachurch with the televangelists and their the jewelry and everything. And it's very hard for me to understand why someone would buy into that, because maybe I just didn't read the right parts of the Bible to understand this, but I thought it was all about like not living lavishly.
Yeah.
And so why would you give your money to people where you can see, like, I mean, that whole idea of we've built this, crystal rocket ship to heaven.
Right.
Why wouldn't someone go, oh, but I don't think that was Jesus. Didn't he tip over all of the money carts at the temple? And I thought it was about,
Well, somewhere along the line, we kind of, like, we kind of reversed it all. Like, where, it's like, it's not about the poor or anything like that.
Right.
It's gotten, I never understand it either when you watch those, the people who are kind of like showing off how much money they have.
Yeah.
I don't understand the Pope. I don't understand like the showing off all the gold. I went to the Vatican.
Right. Oh, wow.
And I was like, and this isn't, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it seems like there's a lot of, like, we're proud of how much gold.
Yeah, and I really thought, like, it wasn't, it's been a while since I had a theology class, since I was in Jesuit all-boys Catholic school, but I thought the idea was that if Jesus came across that kind of stuff, he'd be like, no, that's fake.
Yeah.
Don't be taken in by false gods. Even in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, that biblical tale, where it's like they reach for the golden chalice, the chalice of a king. No, it was a little cup. It was just a little, like clay cup of a carpenter. I don't know where it, or if it's just that most Americans' ideal is like, it'd be great to have money. That must be God. Like, I really would love for someone to explain it.
Well, I think it came down to, I mean, I don't know, I'm just talking out my ass here, but like, it could be like, we somehow made it where it's like, it's still about selfish stuff. Like, I want God to do this for me.
Right.
Like, I want to, pray to God to get a raise at work. I want to pray to God to get, like, to have all this wealth or success kind of thing. And so then, we kind of conflated it in this weird way. Like, where there's, I don't know, it seems like that's what a lot of those televangelist guys are at least selling.
Right. They're in a way, they're sort of selling, like, shallow capitalism.
Yeah.
in a weird kind of way.
Yeah.
But the idea that I guess people, because I guess it's really hard to, or maybe it's just more convenient to just give money, because if someone goes, well, I mean, I guess I could go out and feed people at a homeless shelter, but that takes a lot of time. So if I just give, like, there's almost a little bit of touch the doorknob in that sense where, like, well, if I give X amount of dollars,
then I'm being,
that's, that's a part of that ritual. And then I'm okay. Am I okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? That seems okay.
Right.
Everyone's okay. So I'll just keep doing that. So maybe that's what that plays into.
I wonder if the televangelists, because I know, like, I know the Catholic Church does a lot of, charity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the televangelists, like, how much of it actually ends up being charitable works.
I'll bet it would be a bummer to find out the actual.
Yeah.
Because, there's probably that studio math a little bit, like the film studio math. They're like, well, but we did need the jets to deliver God's message to these people. So, after we factor that in, of course, we can write all this off because we're a religion. But we did that for you guys. We rode the private jets for you.
Yeah. Well, you can't. You're not going to do a commercial.
No, with all those slobs, no, we're not. We need a break. We need a break. God's message needs to be protected in this solid gold helicopter that we have. Yeah, but it feels to me like that trend. Although I know it still does exist, but I feel like it's not as.
You don't see it that much anymore.
Not as much anymore. It doesn't feel as mainstreamy as it was. Although I'm sure it still exists in some form.
Yeah, or it could just be because, like, because they don't do it on cable as much. It used to be a big, like, broadcasting thing, like, during the afternoons on, like, the weekends. That's when you'd see them. Like, they're like, the church would buy, like, a 1 hour thing and the guy would come in. I don't know, maybe it's still out there.
It's probably more regional now, so that if you were to go to, like, Virginia or Tennessee or whatever the local community, maybe on a local station, they would have their, Sunday televangelist drive or whatever. Maybe it's just not as national or syndicated. I honestly don't know anymore.
I'm gonna look into it and see how lucrative it still is.
I'm sure it's still incredibly lucrative. I'm still being able to separate money from people who are terrified about the only thing that can be held over their head, which is their eternal souls.
Well, have you seen this thing that Jim Bakker does now with the survival gear?
No,
that's what he sells now.
Oh, he's a survivalist.
Yeah, he sells big buckets of food. Like his survival buckets.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, you should look it up.
Is the water park closed now?
Oh, yeah, they shut that down.
Oh, they did?
When he went to jail, they shut that down. But yeah, you should look it up. It's crazy. Like, now he sells, like, survivalist stuff.
I hope he calls it the Last Supper.
I don't think he does.
Oh, come on, man. What a great...
He just left it right there.
It was right there the entire time. I think maybe that's the thing I'm maddest about. Come on, man. This is a perfect bit.
You're not even trying anymore.
I mean, the idea that, that people are so... And it's sad because, these people who are giving all this money, I mean, I guess maybe if it brings them comfort, that's fine. But it just feels like, come on, these people need help. Like, they don't need you to take their money and say you're going to do stuff and then buy rings. Like, what's the...
Right.
It makes me sad. It really makes me sad.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
And are your parents still into that part of it, or are they not?
I mean, no, they're they don't, they were never like, they televangelists. They would just go on the shows, like to promote like the music and stuff like that. But they still, they perform with their church, and they do like, they'll do an event here or there. But they're getting close to retiring now, so I think they've talked about maybe we should get the band back on the road together and like go out. So I don't know, maybe they'll start touring again or something like that.
I really do think it would destroy if you had them come out and do a song with you that if they'd be willing to do this, the juxtaposition of them trying to keep a song as Christian as possible, and then you're like, maybe they're the chorus and then your verses.
They would not be down to do it. That would never fly. I don't even need to make the
Just
call.
tell you now, it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. There was a great, because Lawrence Welk had such a great eye and ear for music and performers, and there's an amazing thing on YouTube where he took Brewer and Shipley's One Toke Over the Line, which could not be more of a drug song.
Right.
It's in the title.
Yeah.
And he had this like super Christian-y kind of duo come on and sing it as a duo. And they were sort of able to justify it because they said, "One toke over the line, sweet Jesus." And he was able to sell it and I'm sure obviously he knew what it was.
Yeah.
But he was able to sell it to his audience because with one simple line, he just said, "Oh, thank you to," and it was like a Dave and Cindy kind of a band, for their modern day spiritual, and that was it. That's all he had to say, and it totally sold. But it's on YouTube, and it's fucking fascinating because they sing it. It's so Christian-y sounding, But just when you know what the lyrics actually mean, you're saying "One toke over the line, sweet Jesus."
Yeah. Didn't know Lawrence Welk was so subversive. There it is.
One toke over the line, sweet Jesus. One toke over the line. Sitting downtown in a railway station. One toke over the line.
Yeah, it sounds
so. And these people could not look more like she's in sort of like one of those country hee-haw dresses, and he's just in a polyester suit in like a barn set. Like it could not be more.
But it could be they're one toke over the line from getting into heaven.
Wait,
so they're one toke. They're going to hell because they're one toke over the line.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
So you can make it into like a
so God is rescuing them from being over the line.
No, it's like they're dead and they're up at like the pearly
it's very
gates.
Conceptual.
Yeah, and Saint Peter is there, and they're like, I think I did pretty good. I did some bad things, did some good things. And he's looking through the the book, and then he's like, you're one toke over the line.
One too many tokes?
Yeah.
And so does this song end with them going to hell?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a very...
There. I turned it into a religious...
I don't know if that really makes it spiritual. That's a tragic Christian cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, yes.
Oh,
exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I could see that interpretation. I guess the other interpretation is that they've gone over the line, but then they get pulled back.
Oh, okay. That's much more positive. That's the happy foot side, not the sad foot side.
Bringing it all the way around. That's fantastic. What a great place to land on our happy feet. And also, so people's homework are to look up the One Toke Over the Line. Maybe we'll just play it at the end of the thing, and also the Sad Foot Happy Foot. So if you're not a local Los Angelino, that you understand the magic of Sad Foot Happy Foot.
Yeah, it's a big urban religion thing.
Well, now that when I drive by it on Sunset, I'm gonna not make eye contact with the sign because I don't want to know.
Sorry to add that into your.
Yeah. That's fuck, man. You've really thrown a stake to the fucking lion in my subconscious now, who's just gonna fucking jump right on that. But it was really great having you on, and
thanks for having me.
It's funny that we've been acquaintanced for so long that it's almost like. It's almost like sitting down with somebody like, I always liked you, and we've never really hung out. Like,
no.
It's always, hey, how you doing?
It was
We're
always at
events.
like parties or events or things like that.
Yeah, and just sort of in passing. But I really, really, really enjoyed talking to you, and people should see your special on 420.
420 at midnight.
What?
Which, that's the thing. It's actually 421 because it's 420 at midnight.
Well, okay, so when we started the show at midnight,
Right.
The reason that we would when we were on it actually at midnight before they moved us to 11:30, we decided to say it's 11:59 to 59 seconds. People would and if you actually watch, it was actually 12:01. And the reason that we lied is because we couldn't figure out how else to get around. This is what happened on the internet today, because at that point, today's internet was only a minute old.
Right.
So we got caught up on we got snagged on a technicality. So we would always say it's 11:59, 59 seconds.
Okay.
That would sort of get us in the back door of like, here's what happened today.
I see.
So yes, I know the pain of this. You're technically 420.
Can I steal that? I'll just
please
11:59:59.
Just
420.
By all means, just pillage the organs of At Midnight's corpse and take whatever you need. Give away points if you want. No one's giving away points anymore. Yeah, it'd be totally fine.
If you'll like pass the points baton to me, I'll give.
I want to make the points open source. Like, let's do open source points. You know what I mean? Like, let's just. I don't want to make it proprietary. I want to make points available to everyone.
I crowdsource it.
All right, good. What is the name of the special?
The Story of Our Times.
The Story of Our Time. And then when's Trevathon?
That's going to be midnight to midnight on the 19th. So it's going to, on the 20th. So it's going to go all the way from midnight on the 19th up to the special airing.
Up to the special on the next night. And is that on Comedy Central or Facebook? Or?
That's going to be anything on their Facebook, on Comedy Central's Facebook page,
Excellent.
and then a couple other social media platforms.
Excellent. But it'd be fun to talk to you right after the 24-hour marathon.
I'm going to be a mess.
But thanks for coming on, man. And,
thank you.
And congratulations with all the Whitest Kids success. And, I think you're y'all are very inspirational to people who, have a college sketch group or any kind of comedy group and just like, oh yeah, you just kind of go out and make your comedy and show it to people. And then, when it starts working, people will catch on.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they're, just do it as much as you can and put it out there as much as you can, and hopefully something will hit.
Excellent. Thanks, Trevor. Good to see you.
Thank you, Chris.
Enjoy your burrito, everyone. The end.
Thank you very much. Now, here's an attractive couple, Gail Farrell from Durant, Oklahoma.